Hello everyone, and thank you very much for coming today. So this is going to be one of several webinars that are being delivered this academic year through Teachers Committee. So we're very lucky to have Sandra Patterson from Ulidia and Rachel Agnew from Hazelwood Integrated Primary delivering this session on decolonising the curriculum. Uh, They've been talking about it for a while. I know it's going to be brilliant, and I know you're going to be a really captivated audience. So whenever the two of you are ready, I can share my screen. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
Brill.
Hi, I'm Rachel Agnew. I am Integration Coordinator at Hazelwood Integrated Primary School. I'm going to talk to you in a wee bit about what we've been doing so far in our school. And then Sandra will talk a wee bit about post-primary as well. So you're all very welcome. And thank you for taking the time out to come and listen to us.
Yep, slide please, Tiernan. Thank you. So over the course of this presentation, we're going to be talking about decolonisation, and we're going to be talking about our journeys on decolonisation. So Rachel, if you want to take it from there.
Sure. Okay, so if you can go to the primary ones for me, Tiernan, thank you.
Okay, it's okay, I'll take it from there, Rachel. So if you want to take the next slide, Tiernan. Yep. Yeah. So we wanted to begin by explaining what decolonisation is and how it relates to the curriculum, particularly in integrated schools. Decolonisation itself is very difficult to define. It's a complex issue with lots of very detailed interconnections. It involves identifying colonial systems, structures and relationships and working to challenge these systems. Due to the many threads of decolonisation, this can be a complex issue to address. However, one of the most significant problems relating to gaps in the curriculum is the lack of representation of minority ethnic groups. For us, in integrated education, decolonising the curriculum means creating space for a dialogue, ensuring that a diverse range of cultures and knowledge systems are represented and reflected in respect of the resources that we provide and how we use them to teach, as well as how our curriculum frames the world. Next slide, please, Tiernan. So for us in an integrated school, decolonisation forms part of our anti-bias curriculum. Anti-bias approach is defined by NICE as being an intentional method and mindset and a lens. It requires an activist approach, commitment to social change. NICE published the Anti-Bias for Beginners book in 2021, and within this booklet, 4 goals were set out as an approach to anti-bias education: identity, diversity, justice and activism. These goals are the categories for evaluation as well as action and an indicator for which success is measured through a decolonialised anti-bias lens. And now pass over to Rachel to highlight what she's been doing in Hazelwood Integrated Primary School.
Okay, so we we're maybe at the start of our work on decolonisation. We have lots more to do, but this is just to give you a wee screenshot of what we've done so far. But hopefully it can give some sort of an indication of where you can start or what you can do in your own school. So these would be things that we would do as part of our integrated ethos anyway, but as I said, there's still more work to do. So thanks, Tiernan. Okay, so we would celebrate Black History Month in October. We do believe that it should be part of the curriculum and not just sort of an add-on. So when we celebrate it properly, and that every class touches base on diversity and skin colour and the idea of racism, and people who and important to celebrate people who have made a difference, people of colour who've made a difference in the world. And it also is important, I think, for the children to explore not just American people, but people from Northern Ireland and the UK who've had a significant part to play in Black history, or have made changes, or have been sort of representatives or role models for our children. So some of our classes would have taken it from that point of view, but it's very important for us that we start the year off looking at Black History Month and celebrating that. So that's a display then of our Key Stage 1 display for Black History Month this year, explaining about, we use the storybook, The Colour of Us, and how it's something in our inside us that gives us our skin colour and things like that there. So a lot of the Key Stage 1 and Foundation stage classes would have started the conversations with us about using storybooks initially. And then Key Stage 2 then had their own display for Black History Month, and they would have done a wee bit of project work and a little bit more in-depth exploration of Black History Month. Thanks, Tiernan. Okay, we also have, we try and celebrate a range of cultural and religious festivals throughout the year. So these are just a couple of photos from Diwali and Chinese New Year of projects the children would have done. So this year already we've celebrated Diwali, and we've celebrated we'll celebrate Hanukkah coming up soon now, as well as Christmas. So again, when we do those cultural or religious festivals, the whole school participates in some way, and then we present it in displays and things like that, and on our website as well. Next, Tiernan. Okay, so we find the best way of talking about these issues and bringing representation is through storybooks. So we actually entered into film competition that NICE is involved in last year, and one of our pupils got runner-up. They won a £50 Amazon voucher, so we used that to buy some books that we could use then this year, specifically to make sure that there is more of a representation in our class libraries and things like that there. So some of those books are particularly good, mixed, and It's Okay to Be Different and The Colour of Us are really good for starting those discussions. And then we have a picture there of some of the P2s reading The Colour of Us, and then they would create some sort of art and written work and things about that too, then based on the story. Thank you. Okay, so then other resources that we try and make sure that there's representation in skin colours, in our paint, then our dolls and our puppets and things like that there, and project paper to make sure that there's pictures, there's colours of all different skin tones and things like that there as well, so that the children feel that they're not having to ask for something different, that it's there for them as well. Thank you. And then we would have seen an increase, and I'm hoping we're not the only schools going through it. In a way, I am hoping and I'm not hoping, where there's been an increase of racist language and things being used with pupils in the and in the community as well. So we try and tackle that as well. So we had the Northwest Migrants Forum come in from Derry, and they had did a workshop with our P6s and P7s. So they were very good about racism. And then that's just some pictures of the children there at that, and some of the work they did from that. And then there's some other work from there about Rosa Parks and stuff as well from Black History Month as well. Thank you. And then we would celebrate, we would have a cultural celebration event at the end of every March. We try and celebrate the end of Integrated Month anyway. And we follow the theme of Integrated Month, but we like to finish off with a cultural celebration. There's so many different cultures and people from different parts of the world, you know, that come to our school. Lots of children from different parts of the world, their families. And we then have, each year group takes a country to represent that maybe there's a child from of their class that comes from that country, or their family comes from that country, and they would spend the week learning about their culture, and they would make some food as well. And some of the parents, as you can see in the pictures, would get involved with that, would make some of their food as well and come in. And then we invite all the parents and the school community to come in and try that and sample that as a sort of cultural celebration event at the end of March. It's always really well attended. And it's lovely for the kids to show what their family's culture is as well, and show off some of the food. So we do try and do that every March as well. Thank you. We've also had some really good staff training. Obviously, we've had anti-bias training with Kathy and Tiernan recently, and it was really well received by the staff. And then we had tricky conversations with Dave Thompson. That was a wee while ago now, but that was very interesting too. We make sure our classroom assistants and our teachers go to that training, because the classroom assistants will be the ones who will hear that training, or hear that those discussions out in the playground and with the children. So it's important that they are involved in that. So Dave would have taken us through some scenarios of how do you tackle issues that maybe are a little bit more controversial. How do you tackle those as a staff member and as a school? And then obviously the anti-bias we had quite recently was excellent as well, thinking about our own bias and other people's bias with regards to our practice and our ethos and things like that. Thank you. So mapping the curriculum, I mean, we're at the very start of this, so there's a lot more work that could be done, but we're making a start. So we would look at things like eco skills, we would look at fair trade and things like that. Last year we had Trogara come in and talk about water equality. They were very good to get in. They would focus on one thing each year. So last year it was equality in water. So P5s had that workshop, and that was a really good. Artists and inventors in P6 celebrating people of colour and their works of art and things like that. P3 actually did some work as well on that recently. Superheroes in P3, simple things like trying to make sure there's representation in the toys that they have, looking at quotes from Black Panther and things, real life superheroes that they can explore as well. And then explorers in P7 is interesting to discuss trade and the fairness of that with the explorers and history and things. So making sure that there's a representation in there in that topic. And then clothes in P2, they would look at different cultural clothes and compare them and things like that there as well. And thanks, Tiernan. So fair trade, we've done a wee bit on fair trade, but again, there's more to be done. So P6 and P3 would look at fair trade. P6 would do the topic of rainforests. So they would learn about the fair trade symbol, what it means, and exploring the journey of, for example, either bananas or tea or chocolate or something like that. Finding examples of fair trade logos in their shops and in home, in their cupboards and things like that there. P3 would use hooks like their Bug Club book talking about how chocolate is made, and take the idea of exploring fair trade from that. And then there's the website there for fair trade, lots of really good resources and things with regards to it on their website. Thanks, Tiernan. And then Sandra's going to take over for post-primary.
Thank you, Rachel. So I've been at Ulidia Integrated College for the last 17 years. We're a 11 to 18 school of over 700 pupils. We're located just outside Carrickfergus. I have a number of roles within the school, but principally I'm head of geography. Thank you, Tiernan. So I read the Nice Anti-Bias for Beginners booklet, and as did my departmental team. At the same time, I was also involved in the National Decolonising team through the Geographical Association. I knew my department had more to do, but I was really struggling as to where to begin our journey. I started with an evaluation to identify priority areas for development. I developed my own evaluative tool for evaluating my curriculum to identify where the 4 key areas were being addressed and to identify gaps in provision and opportunities for further development. The tool took the 4 areas of anti-bias education and gave me an opportunity for really clear reflection. Thank you, Tiernan. Evaluation of bias can be uncomfortable. Anti-bias involves a continuous wrangling with issues of power and privilege as we identify and address bias in our lives. Leading my team through this was challenging. We were challenging ourselves both professionally and personally. As a team, we trusted each other and we were willing to make ourselves uncomfortable for the betterment of the department and ultimately for the students that we teach. Thank you, Tiernan. I began by devising my own audit tool. As I couldn't find one elsewhere, I developed my own. This was the first audit that I completed in my department with the tool. I must admit that I do feel slightly embarrassed by it now. I can see how far we had to go, but by completing this audit as the first stage, we had an honest look at the curriculum and I was able then to lead my team effectively along our journey. I found that the tool gave me an opportunity to ensure that the main thing remained the main thing and that my team could see how actions fitted into the bigger picture. Please feel free to use my evaluative tool. And if you do, please let me know how it works for you and suggest any updates. I will share it as a document via Tiernan and on my socials at the end of this presentation. Thank you, Tiernan. So my first action, increasing identity and the diversity of voice, led me to introducing the Voices project into my department. This website hosts a large range of interviews with people from a wide range of diversities. The videos can be played in the classroom and enable students to both see and hear from a wide range of people regarding concepts that they're studying. Secondly, I wanted a wider range of classroom speakers to discuss both subject concepts and also pastoral issues within my room. While attending the Education Festival, I was introduced to Speakers for Schools. I was amazed that I had not found this resource before. It's a free database of speakers discussing a wide range of issues, including social issues. I had to research the library as there was lots of speakers available, and I had to listen carefully to find the videos that were both suitable for my classroom and covering the topics that I was looking for. This search was absolutely worth it. The resources are excellent and include transcripts, which can be shared with the students if needed. I've used a number of the talks and always found that the students really, really enjoyed them. Thank you, Tiernan. One of the areas that concerned me was diversity of examples and case studies. Many of the examples that we use in our classrooms were closely aligned to textbooks because that's where the information comes from. And a key feature of decolonisation is that textbooks were all written by the same group of people who all see the world in a similar way. I wanted to make sure that my department were featuring relevant examples from every continent. So I used a notice board in my classroom to map every example that my team and I used. I created a colour-coded map with different coloured pins for each key stage to show where we were actually teaching about. I decided to do this in this way to create an impactful visual representation, but to also create a visual resource for my departmental team. And what did we find out by doing this? We were actually really surprised. We found out that the continent with least representation within our department was actually Australia. And what did we do about this? We've added forest fires to our hazards unit and focused on their impact on Aboriginal tribes. The impact was increased representation of marginalised groups. We came across a great example, which we now use, and students enjoyed this and completed absolutely excellent work based on this case study. Thank you, Tiernan. Another area of focus identified in the initial audit was greater use of role models to link careers with topics and increase diversity of representation. I wanted all students to see someone like them being successful in geographical areas. I researched and developed a series of notice boards with a rich diversity and a strong gender balance. These boards have been a success. How do I know this? It's very hard to measure. I don't measure this impact, but what I regularly see are students standing in front of these boards, talking about them, pointing to them, and chatting about the individuals that are featured within it. This is real success. Every day, these young people are seeing people that are like them and are inspired by them. Thank you, Tiernan. Another area for improvement was language of diversity. We already have literacy guided reading tasks embedded within every unit of work within the department. We use these to include a rich diversity of reading with a decolonial lens to challenge stereotypes and assumptions. Thank you, Tiernan. So since the original evaluation, we have conducted more re-evaluations using my original audit tool to both identify successes and identify the next steps in our ongoing journey. We don't see decolonisation as a destination. It requires constant evaluation, and each step is a step forward in the right direction. Thank you, Tiernan. Since the initial review and establishing a shift of focus within the department, it became clear that we also needed to redevelop some areas of the curriculum. Completely, in order to increase representation, but also to challenge injustices through the curriculum. Working with my team and members of my wider decolonisation network, I completely changed the development unit of work to reflect a more decolonial global view, and I introduced a new climate justice unit of work to highlight injustice through inquiry activities and motivate young people into action. After attending a talk by Deepo Fallon, I was inspired to really challenge stereotypes and misrepresentation about the African continent. My learning was shared with my team, who felt equally motivated and to completely rehaul the unit of work and turn, challenge and change the focus. And other units of work were also adapted at the same time to ensure that lessons from our schemes question and motivate young people. Thank you, Tiernan. So my most recent anti-bias audit reflects the journey that my team have been on and our progress. We're now feeling more confident to both challenge each other's bias and also in turn provide more decolonised anti-bias curriculum for young people as well as our own. Thank you, Tiernan. So I wanted to conclude by sharing some resources that I found particularly useful. My journey started with the Anti-Bias for Beginners booklet from NICE, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. However, I also found some other resources along the journey very helpful. Topster website is worth registering on. They send free books to schools regularly. This also includes posters and gifts focused on the book. I also have mentioned earlier the Voices Project website and the Speakers for Schools website. These are a wonderful source of information and resources that can be used directly in the classroom. Throughout my journey, I've read many books on the topic. Some books have been more useful than others. I've included a wee picture there of the books which I find the most helpful to me. Some of them are also shared with my sixth formers for their reading as well as part of their A-level course. And finally, Factfulness. It's my go-to book when planning. It really makes me think, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. Thank you. I'm now passing back to Rachel. Rachel, you're on mute.
Sorry. So yes, how can you take this forward? It's a big topic, and it should create some thought. But what we're suggesting is we just take a small step first of all. That's what we're doing here at Hazelwood at the minute. Small step, but it gets things moving. Thanks, Tiernan. So if you can think about aspects of your practice that you could start with. So anything in classroom practice that could be useful to begin with, personal and professional development for staff, possibly, whether you want it to be a part of school development plans. How can you look at it for the whole school culture and your school ethos? We're currently looking at our vision and ethos and mission statement at the minute. and how can you, as Sandra has done as well, sort of look at the curriculum and the topics that you're teaching. Obviously, it can be not just with regards to world around us. It can be used throughout the curriculum. So we've included our email addresses there if anyone has any questions or would like to sort of share some good practice of what they're doing as well, would be grateful. Okay, Sandra.
Thank you. So yes, I've included a final copy of the audit at the end, which I'll ask Kieran to share. And just to reiterate what Rachel has said, our emails included. Please do connect with us and share your successes of your steps along your journey. Please do connect with us to collaborate, and please do connect with us to ask for any help or support that we can help you with along your journey. And to paraphrase the integrated education hashtag, indeed, we are better together. So please do feel free to connect.
Thank you very much, both of you, for that. Personally, on behalf of us at NICE, but I think on behalf of everyone, it was so informative. And, I went in with an expectation of what was coming. I knew it would be good, but I think there was so much to glean from that for everyone. And I'm really excited to share that not only with our team, but with the wider teaching community and the integrated schools and transforming schools across Northern Ireland. Does anyone have any questions for Rachel and Sandra following that? Sandra, can I ask about the Speakers for Schools? So that's basically a platform of recommended speakers. And would that be speaking people who delivering speeches in the actual moment, or would it be recorded speeches that you can sort of
There is a mixture, Tiernan. There
uh-huh,
are some which are face to camera, which were recorded just for the website.
right?
Some that were speeches that were then delivered as part of an event that they were then recorded.
Uh-huh.
There were some that were interviews as part of the website. There's a wide variety of different resources within there,
Yeah.
and lots of different topics, and a multitude of different people who have different backgrounds, different career interests. So it's really a fantastic website, but it does take a bit of time just to go through it and find the video that is appropriate to your student's age group and to the topic that you want to discuss within the classroom. But it's worth finding that video because there's some really wonderful stuff within that website.
Yeah.
And it's all free to use within classrooms. It's free to access. So it's a wonderful free resource, which in my opinion isn't highlighted enough because really there's lots in there which would apply to most classrooms at some stage.
That's kind of fantastic. And the other thing I wanted to say is both of you touched on this, but that honest reflection in the initial stages of, in what are we actually doing in reality, that audit and stripping yourselves back and being honest with yourself enough as a school to say, no, we have a lot that we can work on here. And what Rachel said there about, you're taking it in small steps of building and building. And I love, Sandra, the map as well, the visual representation of what continents are actually being represented in the subject. And I'm sure people can do that cross-curricularly as well, because we talk about this in anti-bias a lot, but sometimes I think representation can be underestimated, and just how powerful it can be, whether you are someone who is a minority in whatever way, just having that positive representation and role modeling, whether it's in displays or by staff members, is so powerful. And I know oftentimes we speak to people and they say, you know what, I wish I had that when I was growing up and when I was in education, because the sense of empowerment and acceptance it can bring people is so important.
Absolutely. It's a brilliant resource to have just within the department to keep reflecting back on. And it's also very powerful just to be that vulnerable, just to say, I'm willing to look at this and to accept this is where I need to improve. We ask young people every day to improve. So we need to be willing to be vulnerable ourselves and to learn and to step forward. And for us as a department, it's been a very important step forward, a team building experience, but also it has really helped our department moving forward to be much more proactive and open. And it's helped our team, and it's ultimately for the benefit of every student that's walked into our classrooms.
Yeah, fantastic. If nobody else has any questions at this point, like Sandra and Rachel said in the presentation, their emails are visible there. We'll also be sharing the recorded presentation with you and with the rest of our list of teacher reps and transforming schools. I suppose just to close, I want to share with you very, very quickly um, the something you'll hopefully have seen already, but that
Can I
representation.
ask a wee
Yes, sure.
question, Tiernan?
Go ahead.
Sandra, what was the resource again that you said isn't tapped into enough?
Speakers for Schools website.
Speakers for Schools.
There's also another website called the Voices Project, which again is just a catalogue of videos which are free to use within classrooms, and the students can see and hear the people who are speaking, and it just is a wonderful resource to bring outside speakers into the classroom virtually through the catalogue.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And there was another one, did it begin with T?
Topsta,
Topsta.
TOPPSTA. It's a book website, and if you register as a school, they'll send you emails every week, and you can register to get free books sent to the school, and they usually come with posters and bookmarks. It's a fantastic website. Not many people know about it, and we've been sent some fantastic stuff from it. When we use it in the classroom, and we use it, and we also put it in the library as well, the posters and the bookmarks, so there's fantastic, opportunity. And yourself, there's not many opportunities to get some free resources. So this is a really, really good one. And again, it's not very well known. So I can only recommend it. It's fantastic.
So that was 3: Speakers for Schools, Voices Project, and Topsta.
Yep.
Yeah. So sorry, Tiernan, for interrupting, and thank you, Sandra.
Don't be silly. The more questions, the better. And if anyone else comes up with a question while I'm speaking here, please interject. Just in terms of, sorry, we have a question.
Shall I have mine off?
Turn your.
I was just sorry. I was just going to ask. Okay. With the culture events, did you find that really helped with parental and people with parental responsibility engagement within the school, having those events every year as well?
Yeah, it really does. At first, I wasn't sure, because I thought, how does this fit in with, the NICE themes for Integrated Month? But it's just a lovely way of getting everybody in. And obviously the children's work is displayed that they've done throughout Integrated Month. But last year the hall was packed. We had parents in who were, I think, Nigeria P4. One of the P4 classes worked in Nigeria, and one of our pupils' mums came in. She cooked the food for the kids in the P4 class, and then she had food there for as a stall for other parents. We had Lebanese in P1, and their family, they own a takeaway, so they had brought down takeaway and then business cards as well. So it's really, really lovely. And we just send out a flyer and we advertise it. But they just come along and they eat, and then the kids come down at the end, and it's just like you have to just clear out everything that's there. But it's a lovely way of sort of highlighting that, there is such diversity within the school, and those parents sometimes who maybe don't have access to, or don't come to the school as often because maybe of language barriers or things like that, there they sort of get as part of that community, and then sort of we thank them in afterwards and send them a wee token. But it's just lovely to do, and we don't love to do more of it in some ways as well. But yeah, no, it's great for getting parents and families in is always something that we really strive to do. So it's a nice way of doing it.
Thank you, Rachel. So yes, just unless anyone else has any last questions, in which case go ahead. But just to really re-emphasize again, I've sent this out to everyone, but we currently, have I lost it? Sorry, I'm not having a great day with IT today. We have a number of webinars coming up over the next year. I will send this out to to you personally again. I don't want to spend time trying to dig it out there because it's somewhere buried in there. But we have not only this great Decolonising the Curriculum webinar, we'll also in January have Linking Generations NI delivering a webinar. And it's open to anyone who wants to attend the session in person, but there will also be a recorded option from which you can watch it after the fact. And we also will be having future webinars from Interfilm NI, who are going to be collaborating with us again for Integrated Education Month. And they're looking at it through a gaming focus this year. So in past years, it's been more about that movie making, video making process, but we wanted to, I think, following discussion, look at that idea of gaming as a way not only to bring people together and make connections, but examining something the kids are involved with, I think, very, very actively in their own life and trying to harness that as an educational tool to explore cultural connections. We also are going to have webinars from forgiveness education and from rights respecting skills, but all of that will be sent out to you in time. And sorry if I hammer you with about 2 or 3 emails, but it's trying to promote these opportunities because I think you can probably agree today, like the value of a session like this and seeing practically in this case in particular what two schools are doing on the ground, because so often that message is, yes, we want to do this, but how do we do it? How do we practically embed this into our curriculum and into the work we're doing daily? And we saw 2 really brilliant examples there. So again, thank you very much, Sandra, and thank you, Rachel, for that. And I think we'll finish there, but thank you very much for everyone who was able to attend, and I'll be in touch soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.